The clock struck 7:43 a.m. Eastern Time when humanity's understanding of physics shattered like glass. Jennifer Martinez was sipping her morning coffee in Times Square, her eyes fixed on the stock market ticker, when the light around her began to bend. At first, she thought it was an advertisement projection. New York was always testing some new marketing gimmick. Then the sky turned inside out. The Kaksuri ships materialized through tears in spacetime, their crystalline structures defying every principle of known geometry. They emerged like fractals made solid, each facet reflecting a different slice of reality, each edge cutting through the fabric of space itself. 17 vessels, each the size of Manhattan, arranged themselves in a perfect mathematical pattern above Earth's major cities. Traffic halted. Phones stopped working. Every screen in Times Square flickered and died, only to reignite with a unified broadcast. The hologram that appeared dwarfed the surrounding skyscrapers, a being that looked almost human, yet profoundly wrong. Its skin had the same crystalline quality as the ship's, and its movements left echoes in the air, like reality itself struggled to keep up. People of Earth, the Kaksuri commander's voice resonated at a frequency that made dental fillings vibrate. Your planetary development has been monitored since you split the atom. Your potential for advancement is noted. Your capacity for destruction is concerning. We offer you a choice. Surrender to our guidance, or face extinction. General Sandra Mitchell, watching from the Pentagon's command center, didn't hesitate. Launch everything we have, she ordered, her voice steady despite the stakes. Show these cosmic geometrists what humanity thinks of ultimatums. The next 3 minutes became a testament to human military might and its complete inadequacy. Nuclear missiles vanished into quantum pockets before detonation. Railgun slugs curved through impossible angles, returning to strike their own launchers. Plasma beams from prototype energy weapons were absorbed, transformed, and redirected as harmless light shows. The Kaksuri commander's hologram smiled. The expression looked rehearsed, as if copied from a human behavioral study. Your resistance is expected but unnecessary. We have perfected the fundamental forces. 17 civilizations have accepted our dominion, understanding that one cannot fight against the very laws of physics. To demonstrate, he raised a crystalline appendage. A 10-block radius of Manhattan simply stopped. Pigeons hung motionless mid-flight. Coffee drops suspended in the air. Every person stood frozen except for their eyes, forced to watch as the commander walked through the time-locked bubble. Your species shows remarkable intuition about the universe's underlying structure, he continued, examining the frozen humans like museum exhibits. In a mere century, you grasped concepts that took others millennia. This makes you valuable. This makes you dangerous. This makes you ours. In orbit, astronaut Commander David Chen watched from the International Space Station as golden webs of energy began descending from the Kaksuri ships. Houston, his voice crackled through the dying comm systems. They're establishing some kind of grid around the planet. The energy readings, they're rewriting our local physics. Our instruments aren't just failing. They're telling us that up is down and electrons are wearing top hats. The Kaksuri grid continued its descent, a net of pure mathematical law designed to restrict Earth to classical physics, to remove the quantum uncertainty that humans had barely begun to understand. As the web approached the atmosphere, weather patterns rearranged themselves into perfect geometric shapes. The aurora borealis transformed into a scrolling display of quantum equations, as if the aliens were showing their work as they rewrote reality. You have 6 of your hours to surrender formally, the commander announced as the time lock dissolved, releasing the frozen New Yorkers. Your scientists will understand the futility of resistance. Your weapons rely on laws we transcended millennia ago. We are not cruel. We are inevitable. We are not conquerors. We are universal constants made manifest. The hologram dissolved, leaving humanity to face a terrifying truth. Their greatest weapons were useless, their understanding of physics was incomplete, and their world was about to be reshaped according to alien mathematical principles that left no room for human chaos or creativity. In Times Square, Jennifer Martinez picked up her coffee cup, now quantum locked into a perfect temperature, and watched the impossible ships overhead. Like many humans in that moment, she felt a peculiar combination of terror and irritation. The aliens might understand physics, but they clearly didn't understand humans. And if there's one thing New Yorkers hate, it's being told what to do, even by beings who could stop time and ignore nuclear weapons. The invasion clock was ticking, but humanity's response was already brewing. Though not in the war rooms or missile silos, the real resistance would come from a most unexpected direction: the human mind itself. Dr. Amanda Hayes pressed her palm against the cold rock wall of the facility nicknamed the Nightmare Lab, 300 feet beneath the Nevada desert. The rough limestone helped ground her racing thoughts. Above ground, the world governments were preparing their formal surrender to the Caxari. Down here, in this sprawling underground complex, humanity was preparing something else entirely. Your quantum consciousness theory. General Mitchell's voice drew her attention back to the briefing room. The one that got you laughed out of MIT. Explain it again. The general's uniform was pristine despite the facility's perpetual dust, her expression carved from the same stone as the surrounding walls. Amanda ran her fingers through her disheveled brown hair, 3 days without sleep evident in her movements. Reality isn't fixed, she began, turning to the holographic display. The Caxari's power comes from their perfect understanding of physical laws. But what if those laws are more like guidelines? What if human consciousness itself can? A crash from the adjacent lab interrupted her. Marcus Rodriguez, the 16-year-old gaming prodigy who'd been recruited 2 days ago, stood amid the wreckage of an expensive quantum sensor array. "Sorry," he called out, his oversized lab coat tangled in the equipment. "But check this out. The quantum fluctuations match the pattern from my MO algorithm exactly." Dr. James Morrison, formerly the amazing Morrison of Las Vegas fame, helped Marcus untangle himself. The ex-magician's perfectly manicured goatee and tailored suit seemed out of place in the military facility, but his understanding of misdirection and probability had proved invaluable. "The kid's onto something," Morrison said, his showman's voice echoing off the walls. His gaming engine accidentally created a primitive consciousness to quantum interface. Imagine what we could do with proper funding. Imagine what we could do with proper focus. Former Master Surgeon John Cooper growled from his meditation corner. His prosthetic leg was propped against the wall while he sat cross-legged on the floor, monitoring quantum field readouts through his neural interface. The near-death experience that cost him his leg in Afghanistan had left him with an unexplained sensitivity to quantum fluctuations. Amanda watched her unlikely teen with a mixture of hope and anxiety. They were humanity's secret weapon. A physicist who believed in the impossible, a teenager who broke physics by accident, a magician who understood the art of defying expectations, and a veteran who could feel the quantum realm. The fate of Earth rested on their ability to prove that consciousness could override reality itself. "Look at this." Amanda pulled up the latest data from their experiments. When Cooper meditates, local quantum fields show a 12% deviation from standard models. When Marcus runs his game engine synchronized with Cooper's brainwaves, that deviation hits 28%. The Caxari's technology relies on quantum stability. They've never encountered a species that could disturb it. General Mitchell studied the readings. "And this is why you requested the quantum entanglement array. To amplify these consciousness effects." "Better," Morrison interjected, producing a deck of cards from nowhere. He fanned them out, each card displaying different quantum equations. "We're going to turn it into a game. The Caxari understand physics, but they don't understand play. They don't get imagination." Marcus's fingers flew over his holographic keyboard, lines of code reflecting in his glasses. "If we can network enough human minds together, treat quantum manipulation like a massive multiplayer raid boss, we could create quantum fluctuations large enough to disrupt their technology," Amanda finished. Every gamer, every dreamer, every human being who's ever wished impossible things could be real. They'll all become part of the resistance. Cooper opened his eyes, the quantum readouts spiking. They're scanning us again. 4th time today. But they still can't detect what we're doing. To them, human consciousness is background noise. General Mitchell's comlink chimed, another update from the surface. The Kaksuri had begun establishing their first ground base in the Sahara, their impossible geometries already reshaping the desert landscape. Earth had less than 4 hours until the surrender deadline. Do it, Mitchell ordered, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. Whatever resources you need, they're yours. Just answer me one question. Can we win? Amanda looked at her team. Marcus testing his game engine, Morrison practicing his quantum card tricks, Cooper sensing the enemy's movements through the quantum field. A teenager, a showman, a wounded warrior, and a scientist who believed in the impossible. We can't win by their rules, she said, allowing herself a smile. So we're going to change the game entirely. The Kaksuri think they've mastered reality, but they've never faced human imagination before. And that's going to be their downfall. Marcus stared at his triple monitor setup, empty energy drink cans forming a miniature cityscape around his keyboard. The gaming ray had been modified with quantum sensors, its cooling system humming in harmony with the deeper throb of the facility's power plant. One more try, he muttered, fingers dancing across the keys. Cooper, you ready? Sergeant Cooper sat in his meditation pose, neural interface glowing softly against his temple. Kid, I've been ready since 4 attempts ago. The question is, are you sure about these changes to your code? The quantum entanglement matrix is stable, Amanda confirmed from her station. Dark circles under her eyes testament to another sleepless night. Morrison, how's our probability field? The former magician flourished his hands over a complex array of crystals, borrowed from a New Age shop in Vegas and repurposed as quantum focus points. Reality's as loose as a rigged deck, Doc. Whatever we're going to try, now's the time. 20 hours had passed since the Kaksuri deadline. Above ground, Earth's governments were negotiating the terms of humanity's surrender, while alien terraforming machines began restructuring the Sahara into perfect geometric patterns. The team's window of opportunity was shrinking with each passing minute. Running Quantum Consciousness Interface Test 47, Marcus announced, initiating the sequence. On his screen, the experimental game engine spun up, a virtual space where human thought could theoretically manipulate quantum states. Cooper, start your meditation sequence. Morrison, deal your probability cards. Dr. Hayes, watching those readings. Amanda nodded, her eyes fixed on the quantum fluctuation monitors. The air in the lab grew heavy with possibility as Cooper's consciousness, enhanced by his unique sensitivity, began interacting with Marcus's program. Morrison dealt cards in precise patterns, each placement synchronized with Cooper's brainwaves. Something's different, Cooper said, his voice distant. The quantum field. It's not just shifting. It's... The coffee cup on Amanda's desk began to vibrate. She reached for it instinctively, then froze as the liquid inside began to glow. Nobody move, she whispered. Marcus, what did you change in the code? Just added a subroutine to translate human brain patterns into quantum manipulation commands, he said, eyes wide behind his glasses, based on the patterns we see in M&O raiders when they're in perfect sync during a boss fight. That feeling when players stop being individuals and become part of something bigger. The coffee wasn't just glowing now, it was changing. The liquid shifted through states of matter that shouldn't exist, energy patterns dancing across its surface like miniature auroras. Then, with a soft pop, the entire cup transformed into pure energy before reconstituting as perfect, crystalline sugar. That's impossible, Morrison breathed, his showman's composure cracking. The conservation of energy, the fundamental laws. The laws work differently when human consciousness is involved, Amanda said, excitement building in her voice. Cooper, what are you feeling? Freedom, the veteran answered, his neural interface pulsing with unprecedented patterns. Like the rules are more like suggestions, like reality itself is waiting for us to tell it what to do. Amanda rushed to her quantum physics simulation. The Caxari based their entire civilization on the premise that physical laws are absolute. Their technology, their ships, their weapons, everything depends on quantum mechanics behaving predictably. But human consciousness, it exists partially outside normal space-time. We don't just observe quantum states. We can influence them, change them, override them. Marcus was already typing furiously. If we can replicate this effect, scale it up, we'd need millions of minds, Morrison said, shuffling his probability cards thoughtfully. All focused, all believing in the impossible at the same time. No, Amanda corrected, a plan forming in her mind. We'd need billions, and they wouldn't need to understand quantum physics. They'd just need to play a game. To believe that reality is mutable, to dream impossible dreams together. The team gathered around Marcus's monitors, watching as he began modifying his game engine. In the corner, the transformed coffee cup sparkled, living proof that human consciousness could rewrite the laws of physics. The Caxori think they've conquered us because they understand how the universe works, Amanda said, determination hardening her voice. But they've never encountered a species that can change how it works. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to imagine impossible things and make them real. Above them, Caxari ships hung in perfect mathematical formation, their quantum-locked hulls impervious to conventional weapons. But for the first time since their arrival, humanity had hope. In a hidden lab beneath the desert, 4 unlikely heroes had discovered that physics itself was negotiable, and the real resistance was about to begin. Morrison stood before a hastily assembled focus group in the facility's main chamber, his showman's instincts taking over. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced to the mix of soldiers, scientists, and civilian volunteers who wants to save the world by playing a game. The room's quantum sensors hummed as Marcus's newly created app loaded on 50 test phones. On the main screen, the interface sparkled with the same impossible energy they'd witnessed during the coffee cup incident. "We're calling it Quantum Quest," Marcus explained, his voice carrying the enthusiasm of a teenager who'd just discovered cheat codes for reality itself. The quantum entanglement network is disguised as social features. Every time someone logs in, their consciousness joins the grid. Every mission they complete helps train their mind to influence quantum states. Amanda watched the volunteers' faces as they explored the app. The game's surface was deceptively simple. Geometric puzzles, meditation exercises, and multiplayer challenges. But beneath that friendly exterior lurked revolutionary physics, each interaction teaching human minds how to bend reality. "The tutorial level is downloading," one tester announced. Her phone levitated an inch off the table. "That's not part of the design," Marcus said, rushing over. "But it is exactly what we need," Cooper interjected, monitoring the quantum fluctuations through his neural interface. Their belief in the game's power is already affecting reality. They're not just playing. They're expecting the impossible to happen. In the week since their breakthrough, the Caxari had established bases in every major desert region. Their quantum terraforming machines worked with mathematical precision, restructuring Earth's geology into perfect crystalline patterns. Humanity's surrender was being implemented phase by phase, with most technology above calculator level being systematically deactivated. "Remember," Amanda addressed the testers, "the Caxori can detect large quantum disturbances, but they dismiss human consciousness as background noise. Each individual player's effect is tiny, imperceptible to their sensors. But together," she nodded to Marcus, who initiated a group challenge. The room dimmed as 50 minds synchronized through the game, each player instinctively understanding their role in the shared quantum space. Morrison dealt his probability cards in a complex pattern, amplifying the effect. A potted plant in the corner evolved through 1,000 generations in seconds, producing impossible flowers that glowed with quantum energy. The concrete floor rippled like water. Several testers found themselves floating gently toward the ceiling, their laughter a counterpoint to the serious work at hand. The Caxori's seventh scan today, Cooper reported, his eyes closed in concentration. They're noticing the quantum fluctuations but categorizing them as natural phenomena. Their models can't conceive of consciousness as a driving force. General Mitchell entered the chamber, her expression shifting from military stoicism to carefully controlled wonder as she observed the floating testers. The global rollout is approved. We're hiding the app deployment in entertainment channels the Caxori consider too primitive to monitor. How long until we reach critical mass? Marcus pulled up his projections. The game goes viral naturally. It literally makes impossible things happen for players. We're adding social features, leaderboards, team challenges. If our model is right, we'll have 1 billion active players within 10 days. 9 days, Amanda corrected, studying the latest satellite feeds. The Caxori are accelerating their terraforming. Once they stabilize Earth's quantum fields, even human consciousness won't be able to affect local reality. Morrison gathered his probability cards, each one now flickering with quantum potential. Then we make those 9 days count. I'm launching a global marketing campaign. Talk shows, social media influencers, street performances. Every magician, mystic, and meditation guru on Earth will promote this game. And the Caxori? Mitchell asked. Cooper smiled, the expression strange on his battle-worn face. They'll see exactly what they expect to see. Humans distracting themselves with primitive entertainment while their world is reformed. They understand physics perfectly, but they don't understand play. They don't understand faith. They don't understand the power of 1 billion human minds dreaming together. On the test phones, Quantum Quest glowed with possibility. Around the room, reality continued to hiccup and shift as 50 minds explored their newfound power. 9 days to build a network of human consciousness powerful enough to challenge beings who had mastered the laws of physics. 9 days to teach humanity how to dream the impossible into existence. The resistance was about to go viral. Seattle vanished behind a dome of shimmering impossibility at exactly 3:47 p.m. Pacific Time. 10 million Quantum Quest players, united in a special raid event, had accidentally punched a hole in conventional physics. The Space Needle now pointed sideways, its tip trailing probability clouds like a quantum compass needle seeking true strange. Holy hell, Marcus breathed, watching the live feeds in the Nightmare Lab. That's at least 50 times stronger than our simulator predicted. His monitors displayed a cascade of player data as millions of minds synchronized through his game engine, each consciousness adding its own twist to local reality. Amanda sprinted between quantum sensors, her lab coat fluttering in probability waves. Cooper, what are the Caxori doing? Can you sense their response? The veteran warrior sat in his meditation pose, neural interface blazing as he reached through the quantum field. They're confused. Their sensors show the damage to local physics, but their models can't explain it. They're sending probe after probe into the anomaly zone, but each one returns reading a different set of physical constants. Inside Seattle's probability dome, reality had become negotiable. Coffee shops served drinks that tasted like childhood memories. Cats barked, dogs purred, and local weathermen reported a 60% chance of gravity with scattered patches of quantum uncertainty. Citizens found themselves accidentally teleporting between neighborhoods whenever they forgot their exact address. This wasn't supposed to happen for another 3 days, Morrison said, his cards dancing between his fingers as he monitored probability fluctuations. The network shouldn't be this strong yet. Unless... He turned to Marcus. Kid, what exactly did you code into that raid event? Marcus pulled up the game interface. The special event, titled Reality Rush, had seemed simple enough. Players working together to solve a massive quantum puzzle. But as he scrolled through the code, his eyes widened. The puzzle solutions, they're forming a quantum computation matrix. When 10 million players solved it simultaneously, their combined consciousness created a reality override. Amanda finished, excitement building in her voice. Humanity's first collective quantum manipulation. The Caxari built their empire on unchangeable physical constants, but we just proved those constants are more like variables. When enough humans believe in a different possibility. The main screen showed a Caxari science vessel approaching the Seattle Dome. Its crystalline structure, usually a perfect manifestation of quantum mathematics, began to warp and twist as it encountered the field of human-altered physics. The alien ship's sensors, calibrated for a universe of absolute laws, went haywire. They're trying to establish a baseline reading, Cooper reported, his consciousness riding the quantum currents. But baseline keeps changing depending on what Seattle's residents are thinking about. Every time they nail down one physical constant, 1,000 human minds casually imagine it being different. General Mitchell's voice crackled over the comm system. Dr. Hayes, the Joint Chiefs need to know. Can you control this effect? The Caxari are pulling their terraforming crews back worldwide. We think they're preparing some kind of response. Amanda studied the readings, her mind racing through quantum calculations. Control isn't the right word, General. We've just discovered that human consciousness can override physical law through shared belief. The Seattle event happened because 10 million people simultaneously believed they could change reality. And they were right. On the screens, the probability dome rippled with creative energy. A group of kids playing hopscotch had accidentally invented a new primary color. A bus driver's daydream about flying had lifted her entire route into the air, passengers cheerfully enjoying the impromptu aerial tour. The Space Needle continued its quantum rotation, now pointing through several theoretical dimensions at once. The Caxari are patching together a theory, Cooper announced, grimacing as alien equations burned through his neural link. They think it's a natural phenomenon, a temporary breakdown in local physics. They can't conceive that we're doing this deliberately. Their perfect understanding of the universe doesn't have a category for human imagination. Marcus was already updating the game code, his fingers flying across multiple keyboards. Then let's give them something really impossible to think about. Seattle was just a test run, an accidental proof of concept. Now we know it works, we can scale up. The next raid event goes global. Morrison gathered his probability cards, each one now flickering with Seattle's quantum chaos. How many players do we have now? 800 million and climbing, Marcus grinned. Turns out people really enjoy a game that lets them rewrite reality. Through the quantum field, they felt the Caxari's growing uncertainty. The aliens had come to Earth certain of their mastery over physical law, only to find humans treating physics itself as a multiplayer game. And the next level was about to begin. Morrison stood on a virtual stage, his hologram simultaneously broadcasting to 1 billion Quantum Quest players worldwide. Behind him, a countdown timer ticked away the seconds until the game's biggest raid event yet. The former magician had traded his usual suit for digital armor that sparkled with quantum possibilities. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow players, citizens of Earth, he announced, his showman's voice reaching through phones and tablets in every corner of the globe. Welcome to Operation Reality Storm. For those just joining us, this special event will reward the top 1,000 teams with exclusive quantum skins and, he paused dramatically, the chance to save our planet. In the Nightmare Lab, Marcus monitored the player metrics. 1 billion active connections and climbing. Quantum coherence at 87% and rising. The Caxari still think we're broadcasting some kind of entertainment preview. Amanda nodded, watching the energy reading spike. After the Seattle incident, they'd spent days fine-tuning the network, teaching players to control their reality-altering abilities through game mechanics. Now, as Morrison rallied the players, every human mind connected to Quantum Quest thrummed with potential. Incoming, Cooper warned, his neural interface pulsing. Caxari ground forces deploying worldwide. They're establishing quantum stabilization fields around their bases. They still don't understand what hit them in Seattle, but they're not taking chances. On screens around the world, Morrison's presentation continued. Today's challenge is simple. Imagine something impossible. Not just imagine it. Believe it. The game will sync our thoughts, focus our intent. Together, we're going to remind the universe that physics is more of a suggestion than a rule. The countdown reached 0. 1 billion human minds focused simultaneously, their consciousness shaped by Marcus's game interface into a coherent quantum manipulation field. Reality shuddered. Probability collapsed and reformed. In the Sahara, a Kaksori terraforming base discovered its perfectly geometric crystals, transforming into sandcastles. In Tokyo, their quantum-locked ships found themselves turning into origami cranes. A patrol of alien troops in Rio de Janeiro watched in horror as their weapons blossomed into carnival flowers. "It's working," Marcus shouted, his monitors blazing with player activity. The quantum field is responding to coordinated human imagination. Every player who believes in impossible things is making them real. Amanda studied the readings, her scientific mind racing to comprehend what they'd unleashed. The Kaksori based everything on mathematical certainty. Their technology requires physics to behave consistently. But human consciousness, we're introducing an element of pure chaos into their equations. Across the planet, Quantum Quest players reported increasingly impossible phenomena. A grandmother in Mumbai imagined her garden growing through time, producing flowers from extinct species and plants that wouldn't evolve for millions of years. A teenager in Cairo turned a Kaksori probability anchor into a bubble machine. A street musician in Paris found his saxophone playing colors instead of notes, each melody painting the sky in new shades of impossible. "The Kaksori are panicking," Cooper reported, grimacing as alien transmissions flooded his neural link. "Their models can't account for what's happening. Every time they establish a baseline for local physics, a million human minds casually imagine something different." General Mitchell's voice crackled through the command channel. "Dr. Hayes, we're seeing Kaksori ships attempting emergency quantum locks. Some are trying to retreat, but their engines aren't working consistently. What exactly is happening up there?" Amanda smiled, watching the quantum chaos spread through their monitoring systems. "Physics is based on universal constants, General, but we've just introduced a new variable: human imagination. The Kaksori mastered the laws of reality, but they never considered that those laws might be subject to democratic override." On his virtual stage, Morrison orchestrated the chaos like a conductor leading a reality-bending symphony. Phase 2, everyone. Remember the training simulations. Focus on your team objectives. Together, we're not just playing a game. We're rewriting the rules of the universe. A cheer went up from 1 billion players as team scores began rolling in. Humanity had turned their resistance into a competition, a game, a creative collaboration. The Kaksori had expected surrender from a primitive species. Instead, they found their perfect physics being casually ignored by humans who treated universal constants like house rules in a cosmic game. The invasion was failing not to superior technology or military might, but to something the Kaksori had never encountered before: the human ability to look at the impossible and think, why not? The Kaksori deploy their reality anchors at precisely noon Greenwich Mean Time, massive crystalline structures that punched through the clouds like geometric thunderbolts. Each device generated a field of absolute mathematical law, forcing quantum stability in a 10-mile radius. Physics began snapping back to its standard rules, crushing human imagination under the weight of cold equations. In the Nightmare Lab, every alarm screamed at once. "They're trying to lock down local space-time," Amanda shouted over the cacophony. "Their anchors are enforcing classical physics through brute computational force." "Marcus, what's happening to the network?" The teenager's fingers danced across his keyboards, emergency protocols activating throughout the Quantum Quest system. "We've got 800 million players still connected, but they're struggling against the stabilization fields. It's like the universe is trying to wake up from a dream." Cooper convulsed in his meditation pose, neural interface sparking. The Caxori are burning through their energy reserves to power the anchors. They're trying to establish a new baseline reality, one where human consciousness can't affect quantum states. On screens around the lab, they watched the effects ripple across the globe. In areas under the anchor's influence, gravity reasserted itself with mathematical precision. Probability collapsed into singular outcomes. Dreams surrendered to physics. The wonderful impossibilities that humanity had imagined began fading like morning mist under a harsh sun. "No," Morrison whispered, his cards turning mundane in his hands. "We can't let them make the world make sense again." Amanda studied the quantum readings, her mind racing. They're trying to solve chaos with order, to impose their understanding of physics on a universe that humanity just proved is far stranger than they imagined. But maybe. She spun to face her team. What if we don't fight their stability? What if we embrace it, and then push through to something even more fundamental? Marcus caught on first, his eyes lighting up. Like in gaming, sometimes you have to let the boss hit you to trigger a special move. Exactly, Amanda nodded. Cooper, can you use your neural link to help players synchronize with the Caxori fields instead of fighting them? The veteran closed his eyes, reaching out through the quantum network. It's like martial arts. Use their strength against them. But we'll need a focusing event, Morrison finished, already bringing up his worldwide broadcast interface. One last grand illusion. But this time we make it real by accepting how impossible it is. Around the planet, Quantum Quest players receive new instructions. Instead of fighting the anchor's oppressive stability, they began moving in quantum harmony with it. The Caxori fields demanded order, so humanity gave them order, then showed them what lay beyond it. Reality shuddered. The anchor's mathematical perfection became a resonating crystal note in a larger symphony of consciousness. Humans weren't just imagining impossible things anymore. They were imagining impossible ways of imagining. Fractal dreams that bloomed in the spaces between thoughts. Energy readings are off the scale, Marcus reported, his monitors displaying numbers that shouldn't exist. The anchors are trying to impose stability, but we're turning that stability into a foundation for even deeper chaos. Through the lab's windows, they watched reality transform. The desert sky filled with geometric patterns that folded through dimensions that hadn't existed minutes ago. Time flowed like water, pooling in moments of perfect beauty before cascading into new possibilities. The very constants that the Caxori had tried to enforce became variables in a larger equation of human consciousness. "They're panicking," Cooper reported, his voice distant as he rode the quantum currents. "Their models predicted every possible response except this one. We're not breaking their rules anymore. We're transcending them." Amanda watched the readings as 800 million human minds moved in perfect synchronization with the anchor's pulses. The Caxori thought physics was the foundation of reality, but they were looking at it backward. Consciousness, imagination, dreams, these aren't side effects of an orderly universe. They're the source of order itself, and humanity just remembered how to reach back to that source. The reality anchors began to fail, not through force, but through transcendence. The Caxori had built their civilization on mastering the laws of physics, only to discover that humans could change those laws by reaching beyond them, to where mathematics dissolved into pure possibility. In orbit, their perfect crystalline ships started to transform, becoming monuments to a truth their builders had never understood. In a universe born from consciousness, the only constant is change itself. The last Caxori ship vanished through a quantum tunnel at dawn, leaving behind a world forever changed. Their crystalline structures, once perfect manifestations of mathematical law, had dissolved into clouds of possibility that rained new colors across the sky. Earth's first day of freedom dawned in shades that didn't exist in the old physics. Amanda stood in Times Square, where it had all begun, watching children play hopscotch through probability fields. Each jump left rainbow ripples in reality, their innocent belief in magic now an actual force that shaped the world around them. The stock market ticker above had given up on numbers and now displayed emotions as tangible quantum states. Final player count just topped 2 billion, Marcus announced, his laptop displaying Quantum Quest's global statistics. The game had evolved beyond its original purpose, becoming humanity's interface with the new physics they'd discovered. People aren't just playing anymore. They're exploring what's possible when consciousness shapes reality. Morrison performed for a gathered crowd, his card tricks now literally rewriting probability. Pick a card, he told the wide-eyed tourist, any card, and then imagine what you want it to be. The deck shuffled itself in midair, each card becoming whatever the audience believed it should be. Cooper sat cross-legged nearby, his neural interface now unnecessary. Like many humans, he could directly sense the quantum field, feeling the ebb and flow of possibility through the collective consciousness of humanity. The Caxary's final transmission is still echoing through the probability space, he reported. They're warning their empire about us. Amanda nodded, remembering the alien message they'd intercepted. Avoid Earth. They don't obey the rules. They dream new ones. General Mitchell approached, her uniform shifting subtly to match her emotional state, a common side effect of the new physics. Dr. Hayes, the president needs your team's assessment. What exactly are we dealing with here? How do we govern a world where reality itself is subject to popular vote? That's the beautiful part, Amanda replied, watching a street vendor's hot dogs transform into whatever each customer imagined the perfect meal to be. The new physics only works through harmony. When humans try to force their will on reality individually, the effects are small. It's only when we dream together that we can reshape the world. Marcus looked up from his laptop. Like multiplayer games, you can't beat the raid boss alone. You need teamwork, coordination, shared purpose. Exactly, Morrison added, his cards forming a castle of possibilities in the air. Every magic trick needs both the magician and the audience believing together. That's why the Caxary failed. They tried to impose their truth on the universe, while humans naturally create truth through shared stories. The implications were already reshaping society. Schools had replaced physics textbooks with imagination training. Hospitals combined traditional medicine with focused reality manipulation. Transport networks ran on collective visualization rather than fossil fuels. Earth's first faster-than-light drive was being developed not by engineers, but by children who had never been taught it was impossible. But we haven't broken physics, Amanda explained to the general. We've discovered its true nature. The universal constants aren't laws imposed from above. They're agreements reached by consciousness itself. Humanity just remembered how to join the conversation. A group of teenagers passed by, using their phones to collaborate on local reality modifications. They were designing a new park, their shared imagination transforming a vacant lot into a garden that bloomed with flowers that told stories and trees that grew dreams instead of fruit. The Quantum Quest servers are evolving, Marcus reported, showing Amanda his screen. Players aren't just changing reality anymore. They're imagining new ways to imagine. It's like reality itself is learning how to dream. Cooper opened his eyes, smiling. The Caxari are still watching from the edges of space, trying to understand what happened. Their perfect physics failed not because it was wrong, but because it was incomplete. They mapped the universe's body but missed its soul. Above them, the sky rippled with quantum aurora, each wave colored by the collective hopes of humanity. Earth had entered a new age, where science and magic were revealed as two sides of the same coin, where human consciousness shaped reality through the power of shared dreams. So what now? General Mitchell asked, watching a flock of probability pigeons draw mandalas in the air. Amanda looked at her team. The gaming prodigy who'd turned resistance into play, the magician who'd made impossibility into entertainment, the warrior who'd learned to feel the quantum pulse of human consciousness. They'd set out to save the world from alien invasion and ended up helping humanity evolve beyond anyone's expectations. Now, as she said, we learn how to dream responsibly. Because reality isn't something that happens to us anymore. It's something we create together, one shared story at a time. In the quantum-touched sky above, possibility itself smiled, and the universe held its breath, waiting to see what humanity would imagine next.